Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure review. So just to warn you in advance, I am not going to unbox this figure. This is a much older figure, but I just wanted to showcase it, especially with Walmart having those kind of like reissued, vintage looking kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures from like the 80s and 90s. So what we're looking at here is we have April O'Neil, as produced by Playmates. As you can see here, this card, it's unpunched. This was something I bought some years back. I got it on eBay, I think for a pretty reasonable price, actually. Maybe like, I want to say between $25 and $30, which kind of surprised me. So that's why I kind of jumped on it. I was going through a phase years ago where I was kind of like trying to like build up a small TMNT collection, more so the old Playmates figures, like the ones I had when I was younger. I never had an April figure, so this was actually one of the figures I really wanted. It was a figure I wanted mint on card. So when I found this one, especially at this price, I just had to have it. So the figure we're looking at here, this was not the first issued figure of April from Playmates. This one came out back in where's the date? This one came out in 1990, and this figure. The more pricier version of this figure is, I believe it was put out maybe in 1988 or 1989. And the back of the box, or at least the back of the card for the more pricier figure, is the one that only features 10 action figures on the back. Whereas this action figure features 44 action figures. So this is a somewhat less pricier version of that one. These figures, it's not like, they're not necessarily rare. You could find these on eBay almost like, I don't want to say like on any day of the week, but they're not like, back in the 80s and 90s, toys were like super mass produced. So if you're on the hunt for something like this, it's easy to find. If you're like me, you might be one of those people that prefers the original like OG figs as opposed to like, the reproductions that we're getting today. Like, I think it's great that Playmates are releasing those exclusive like vintage figures at Walmart, but for me, it just kind of waters down, not necessarily the value, but I don't know how to phrase it, but for me, it just takes something away from the original ones, and it's not necessarily like a money thing. It's cool that they give, like if you grew up during this time period, a chance to like, reclaim your youth again. But I think in some ways it kind of does hurt the collectible market a little bit, or maybe a lot, depending on your point of view. But there's just something nice about having like the actual like legit product from that era. Speaking of which, this time period, I think it's very fun and very charming. The package design is wonderful. I love how we have April flanking the logo on both sides. It's crazy during this time period. Here's April holding a pistol and she's firing it, and the shells are flying out. On the other side, she's like in full reporter mode with the microphone and the briefcase. So this figure has the controversial press logo on her chest. Back in the day, like parent groups were all over this figure because they thought it was kind of vulgar. That over her left boob, it had the word press over it. I think it's a fantastic figure, though. It's a great, almost like cartoonish interpretation of this character. Her hairstyle is very like mid 80s. Over here, it's a very sexy April O'Neil. She's in this nice pose with the pouty lips and big, huge explosion behind her. I love the accessory tree that you always got with the Playmates figures. It was always fun. All the accessories came on this sprue, and then as a kid, you have to like cut them off. And of course, no one ever did it cleanly. And then it's funny, if you look at this figure in very small print in the lower corner, amazing arm movement, deluxe weapons assortment included. It's kind of like the selling points of the figure, but it's just really in small print right here, which is, I think it's hilarious. The card back, like I said, features 44 figures. So if you have the card back with 10 figures, and I believe it's maybe like from 88 or 89, that's going to be the pricier figure. They spotlight the accessories, camcorder / gun, computer briefcase, ninja star, for spur of the moment battles and a microphone. And much like the 80s and 90s, nice bio card, which is awesome. And she's a young 25. That's pretty neat. So, since I have this figure mint on card, I do have a loose one we could actually look at. This one was released, I'm not sure when. This mold was reused multiple times. This was it was a reissued figure. This probably came much later. Can't find the copyright stamp on it, so I can't tell you the exact year. But as you can see, it uses a similar body. It might be the same mold, but part of me wants to say maybe it was the mold retooled, because some of the cuts do look a little bit sharper on this figure than on the original one. The portrait or the head sculpt is completely different. As you can see, the original figure on the right looks fantastic. This one, she has that expression in her eyes like she saw something she wasn't supposed to see. I do like the skin tone on this one. She's a little bit more tan. She kind of has a little bit more life to her. This figure is very pale. They both have blue eyes. This one has a somewhat deeper blue. As you can see, different paint application on her uniform. They both expose the same amount of cleavage. Yeah, so great figure. Very limited articulation. You know, the head rotates, arms rotate. You know, this is pretty much a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 6 point of articulation. Head, arms, waist, legs. Yeah, so I mean, for this time period, it is what it is. The logo's screened very nicely on this one. Yeah, so very stoked to have this little piece of fig history. You know, like I said, I'm very glad that I actually have an OG one and not a reproduction or a reissued one. I mean, technically this figure is reissued because, you know, the previous one came out like in 88 or 89. This one came out in 90. But yeah, fantastic figure. Really glad to have this in my collection. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. Alright, later.